there have been a lot of, commentary out there about the impact of the US Israeli. A lot of people have died on both sides, more on the Iran side. The only problem I do have is it appears one is not very clear what the objective is at the moment.
Probably Israel is more interested in a bifurcation of Iran, like a split, to make them into little units that are not a coherent polity.
Let's come down to Nigeria. What does this mean for us?
The question that someone asked me in the office today was, when you sell your Nigerian position, what do you even buy? As crazy as it sounds, Nigeria is less risky. Food inflation is down.
But we've seen rice go from 120 to like 60 something.
Yes.
Yes. Obedience said they want it back to 25k per bag of rice.
Is it not a legitimate request?
But it's not a legitimate request.
It is not.
Why is it not
Because
legitimate?
we don't have the supply capacity and we don't have the cost advantage that can give us that pricing reality. As brutal as it sounds, when you were buying rice at 25k, you were being subsidized.
Yes. If we ever get back to 25k as at today's
I will sell
exchange
everything
rate,
in Nigeria and I'll leave the country. The way I'm seeing Asiwaju moving, I suspect that he wants to weaken Abuja.
So what does weakening Abuja do?
We have this mad system where 36 commissioners of finance, we sit down in their house all month, and then one Wednesday, or what day is FAC again? One Monday, they'll go to Abuja, they will sign paper, they will collect money.
I had a conversation with one of the former vice presidents 2 weeks ago. We're basically trying to have a conversation around education. And he said, listen, when you get to this political class, state governors don't put money in schools because it doesn't lead to votes. If I go and prepare a school today, the people that are in that school, the children, they're not voting. If I give rice, that's what gets me votes.
Yeah.
one of the biggest lies in Nigeria that has been sold is that your vote doesn't count.
Hello everyone, welcome to Drinks and Mics, brought to you by Naira. My name is Ugo Dre, and it's another episode of Drinks and Mics. This one. Hey, we're just happy to be in the studio, safe and sound. We're not caught up in any of what had happened. I know that Arnold is not here, by the way, but Arnold is safe and sound. Don't worry, Arnold's story is different. I will come and tell you those stories.
He will come and
We're going to explain to you guys what happened to him and why he hasn't been around.
It's not in Dubai.
It's not in Dubai.
It's on this side.
But
It's not that
he
side.
was on the other side of the equator. So, and then he came back, on the other side of life. But you know what? It's good to be back. Of course, we have you guys are giving him the name Oracle. I was in the UK and I was just enjoying myself. I went to sit there in one corner, JJ, with my friends. We were just one kind club like that. And then somebody was just staring at me like this. I was like, hey, God. The guy just came. Ugo Dre. Oracle. Oh my God. Oracle.
I don't know. The name scares me because in this business, you're only as good as your last trade.
Yeah.
So when the time I spectacularly get something wrong, which is inevitable in this our line of business.
The Oracle never gets it wrong. That's what they say.
But that's what makes it hard because we make probability-based assessments and life doesn't happen in a distribution, right? So when one of those your probability distribution don't work and then something crystallizes, because Oracle is supposed to have perfect foresight.
But Nigerians understand that sometimes.
That's why you need to explain that one to them now, so that when the inevitable happens,
because
they will not drop the name. It will happen.
It happens now.
Especially where you're in a world essentially dominated by geopolitics. Of course, we have the usual gang in the house. We have Tunji Andrews to my right. You can see him sporting a new jacket. He also just came back.
Tunji is looking very fresh.
There's a lot of stuff about Tunji. If you think we're lying, or we're just trying to just for your Tunji fans, I always say we're coming after Tunji. Please just go back to the first, second, third, fourth, fifth episode of Drinks and Mics and entertain yourself, and then just put it side by side and just see that what God has done to some people's lives.
You're so surprised till you start singing on your mandate.
At this rate. So it's not like That's all you need to do is go and check early episodes of Drinks and Back, and you will see for yourself. Of course, we got Otumba in the house too. What's up, my man?
I did.
Causing havoc everywhere.
No.
Causing havoc. Oh.
You know the funny thing with Otumba is very dangerous right now, because you see, when somebody pastime is to have time for you people that are just messing around with the market, just doing it in his own pastime.
Causing trouble everywhere.
Know that he's coming after everybody.
No.
Me, I even fear say one day go ask you to make I put on for suitcase, carry and come up for the country. Because now everybody trouble Otumba is fine.
Otumba is taking no prisoner. And by the way, I mean, that's who he is. He's just
It's
looking
needed.
for...
It's actually needed in this market.
That's
Yeah.
what it is.
The pursuit of
No personal issues. Doesn't have issues with anybody. It's just how it is.
Yeah.
And if you're one of those who used to follow his email newsletters back then, you understand that that's how. And then Dele was even working in an organization.
Yeah.
Now
Nah,
he's
it's
solo.
free.
That he doesn't need to respond
I
to
heard
anybody.
Murphy was after you at some point.
At one point, they're all after him. Now he's a retired salesman. Can you imagine?
I'm fully retired.
No institutional shackles.
I'm telling you, they can't
Putting
hold
him
you.
back.
I must have anything now. I must have anything.
Get up.
If you can't say, call.
Anyways, what a week it's been globally. And I'm sure, as you all know, today's episode is largely going to be dominated by what's happening around the world. There have been a lot of, commentary out there about the impact of the US-Israeli, I don't know whether to call it war or whether to call it attack, because as far as I know, nobody has declared war yet, in quotes, but kind of looks like there's an attack out there. There's an attack happening. Iran is currently on the back foot. America is hitting with everything that you can think about. Israel is hitting back as well. A lot of people have died on both sides, more on the Iran side. We're going to try and distill this and make sense of it. Of course, this is your Drinks and Mike's way. What does this mean for Nigeria? What does this mean for Africa, for emerging markets, and for your investment? Wherever it is you're watching from all over the world, this all has ramifications for all of us. We all know it's a global village now. So anything that can be happening in the Strait of Hormuz can actually be affecting you on your dinner table right there. And that's what we're going to try and explain and see how this pans out. So probably going to start with you, Sam. You've been watching this. I mean, I don't know if we kind of talked about this a few episodes ago, but not sure we predicted
So we
exactly
talked about
when
it
it's going to
last
happen.
week. We talked about it
Oh,
last
you guys
week.
talked about it last
So
week.
last week, I think the view,
Okay.
the view was that, Trump was just being bluffing. And I said to them that you can't move 3 war carriers.
War carriers. And two of the
that
biggest.
size.
Yeah.
And the war was already concluded. You have to use it, because if you bring it back, people go insult you.
And they look, say, this thing far. Why would I?
You know? I mean, even one of the carriers, right? I heard that the Abraham Lincoln, that
Yes, I think
the toilet stopped working, and you had about 5,000 soldiers on board, troops on board. So at that point in time, like, you've inconvenienced everybody. You had to drop something. At least we dropped something, making it look like it with the Vex. But yeah, I wasn't too surprised. I thought that was the outcome.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think there was a bit of hubris that came from the success of the Venezuelan nation. I think from a military standpoint, that was fast. That was
Swift.
very well executed. And they started to believe their own hype and their own Kool-Aid.
Who then? Who now?
The US, right? And they thought that they could achieve the same level of success that they achieved in Venezuela, in Iran. But obviously, the calculus is different. This is a regime that has probably spent the last 40 years preparing for this kind of outcome. And then these are actors that are not as entirely as rational as people like me and you, because there's a huge ideological aspect to their theocracy, right? And as such, they oftentimes, I always say this, that those who make you believe absurdities can make you commit atrocities, and the pain threshold of people who are ideological is a lot higher, right? So they know they would suffer disproportionately, but they've been preparing for this. And the nature of warfare has changed. Smaller countries, right, can basically take on larger countries because the cost of making things like military drones have fallen quite significantly.
About $50,000.
Right. So the economic asymmetry that comes from that, plus the fact that we've all been sold a lie around the efficacy of defense systems, right? Because these are mathematical systems.
But they've been working, haven't they?
Well,
just like it's expensive.
So the thing is, when they tell you things like we intercepted 95% of the incoming projectiles, mathematically, the guys who are sending those projectiles know that you are going to intercept 95% of it. They've studied the data. So the objective, right, is to overwhelm your system by throwing a lot of data at it. And when it gets overwhelmed, then they send the cruise missiles to target what they want to target. So it's not designed because of the way these systems work. And this is what was tested in Ukraine. And I think this is what the Iranians fine-tuned from the 12-day war and are now deploying now, because they know that a lot of those missiles are going to be intercepted. But it's not 100% interception rate. And increasingly, like from what I understand, for example, in order for an interceptor to be able to intercept an incoming missile, it has to travel at least 2 or 3 times the speed at which the incoming missile is coming, right? So the new hypersonic ones that the Iranians are launching, right, are traveling at Mach 15, right? Like 11,000 miles per hour, something crazy, like very fast. And it's actually within the realms of mathematical impossibility to build counter projectiles at 3 times that speed, right? So what is happening is that they are overwhelming these systems, right? And you have these expensive Patriot missiles and THAAD missiles that are being sent to counter this stuff. And the quality of the scale of the inventory are depleting quite fast. And it doesn't feel like the Iranians have actually launched a lot of high-tech ones. So unless you are overwhelming the Iranians quite aggressively by ensuring that you are destroying the stockpiles and you are destroying the launchers, if they're able to get out the hypersonic missiles.
But isn't that what the Americans are doing, though?
That's what they're trying to do.
Essentially attacking the launch pads itself.
So the challenge is this. Well, so from the little that I understand, and I'm not a geopolitical expert, so forgive some of my ignorance here. Obviously, when this thing happens, you have to go and learn as much as you can. So think about how it affects you and how it affects your portfolio. The Iranian military is not very centralized, right? So you have, for about 30 different warlords, so to speak, that see the spiritual leader as the central authority, right? So when you take off that head, right, oftentimes the expectation is that once you take off the head, everybody panics and everyone acquiesces. But Iranians have known this over the years, that this is a possibility. And the way their mindset is wired is that they all know that they're going to die at any minute. And when they die, they're even happy because they're going to go to heaven, right? So they are prepared for the annihilation. But what then happens is that when the head goes off, those 33 different armies now are fully decentralized and making autonomous decisions. So you don't even have who to negotiate with. So that's why you have...
They named the new...
So that guy has to then claim legitimacy, right? And that's why you need to engineer a legitimate process that allow that guy to come up, right? And that guy can... But the portion is that it's not his father. His father has over years built institutions, built systems and process to bring people in line. But if you have a warlord in the far of the country that is... Because some countries that are supposed to be allies to... or people that are seen as allies to Iran, like Bahrain, like Oman, are getting hit. So it almost feels like everybody is just, make I do the best when I feel do, given that the boss has gone, right? And that's why that's why the off-ramp just looks almost impossible to achieve, because it feels like we have gotten into this decentralized war doctrine, which if you read the Iranian preparation for this sort of event is what they've prepared for.
Yeah, I mean, I read that part of what they had envisaged was killing of the Ayatollah himself, and then if he dies, or when he dies, different rank and file, all have their own strategic plan. So it's not like there's any one person
autonomous.
coordinating
Yeah,
everything.
decentralized.
But they
So
killed
different
about
people are-
47 leaders. So if you remember what happened with the pagers, with Hezbollah, right? So
Guys, this is my
on a
good.
going forward basis, the guys stopped communication, stopped either virtually or on phone, whatever. So it was more like we have to converge. They now have to converge to communicate. So up at the bunker where he was in, it took out at least 47 of them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
But again, there's always layers and layers and layers
So
of
this
leadership,
is an idea. So unless you can kill the idea,
which
right,
is probably unlikely.
which is very difficult to do, or you can take over the local military, which means you need to put boots on the ground, which clearly the Americans don't want to do.
No, I
right?
think-
You cannot achieve regime change in the air. It will just continue to have bombardment. And paradoxically, the people who in Iran are synonymous, are more sympathetic towards Western ideals, are likely in Tehran. And that's where you are bombing. But remember, this is a country that is 90 million people, that is pretty much the size of Western Europe. So it's a very big country. And a lot of, when you have a theocracy, and you tend to see this in Turkey as well, the power base of the government tends to be derived from the rural areas. That's not where you are bombing. So yes, you might have this fringe or this base of people that really want these so-called Western ideas and Western freedom, but they are in the popular cities that are likely to also be the places that you are bombing, which means that you are also likely to stiffen the resistance of these people to want to achieve regime change, which is why, despite the seemingly unpopularity of the Iranian regime, when the Ayatollah died, crowds were on the streets, like mourning and protesting, and a lot of the rural areas were filled with people. So there seems to be strong institutional support for the regime.
I mean, which is expected anyway. I think that for the regime to have held on this long, obviously there was some kind of strong institutional support for them, which would obviously persist. And I also think, yes, I agree, the Iranians have had this plan immediately after the 12-day war. But at the same time, don't you think the Americans and the Israelis themselves also envisage some of the counteractions from the Iranians? And the only problem I do have is it appears one is not very clear what the objective is at the moment. Initially it was regime change, but it doesn't look like regime change is what they're looking at now, because we're not even sure who is going to take over anyways. At some point it was fear of nuclear weapons. We don't think that is the case anymore. And then it was a case of an attack on the US. I'm not sure there was any imminent attack, at least no clear evidence of that yet. So it just kind of seemed like America and Israel is trying to beat Iran down so bad that
for the next 5 to 10 years, you can't do anything.
There's just nothing they can do. And I think that I do hear you when you say that you can't engineer regime change without foot on the ground, which is true. But I do remember that, it happened with Enola Gay. Was it Enola Gay or Enola B? When they dropped a nuclear bomb in Japan. There were no foot on the ground per se, but of course we don't expect that to happen anymore. My point is, there's a way you can subdue a nation with the kind of attack they've never seen before.
Can they afford to do
That's
well,
what
maybe
I don't
not
know.
afford
So
to
at
do
some
that.
point,
Or you're thinking about
perspective.
tactical nukes?
I don't know whether it's nukes, but I kind of feel like
a crazy
they are trying
bombardment.
to decimate
Remember,
them
Hitler-
bad that they just won't be able to recover.
Yeah, but you remember Hitler tried this area bombardment and hoping that people would turn against the government all over Europe. This happened in London. It didn't really succeed, right? So I really think, there is very little evidence that through history that you're able to achieve. In order to really achieve regime change, you need to basically collapse completely or take over the military infrastructure that currently exists in the country that you're trying to change the regime. Short of that, I think you probably just create chaos. And the question is then becomes, who benefits from that chaos? I really don't think Israel was interested in regime change.
So what's their own interest in?
I think Israel just want to be the supreme superpower in the region. And to that extent, having a coherent Iran strategy is a counter to that objective. So I think probably Israel is more interested in a bifurcation of Iran, like a split, right? To make them into little units that are not a coherent polity, right? I think that's what is their strategic objective. They're not, because when you think about
having
that,
all sorts of factions.
so think about that region, right? Only probably Iran is like a proper country, right? Think Saudi is a colonial construct, right? Largely more westernized than the people that they govern, right? So there are questions around even legitimacy from the people that they govern. You could make the same. The other countries are quite small. They are very wealthy, but in terms of real economies and big country, they are not. So when I actually look at the Middle East, like competing real countries that could become industrial powers, in my mind, is probably Egypt and probably Iran. And Iran,
Turkey?
and of course, I mean, Turkey is a bit down, but look, Turkey is probably another credible alternative. But you can see that the narrative around Turkey with the Israelis seems to also be shifting, because I was listening to Naftali Bennett the other day talking that Erdogan is a great threat to Israeli hegemon. So it does feel like what Israel wants, it's to be the dominant power in the Middle East, and as a consequence, any competing alternative to them, it's a threat over the long run.
Are we going back to the Monroe Doctrine days where
might is right?
Yeah, where might is right, and you just have regional.
But
regional.
I think we were already there once Trump came in.
I mean, like
I was also surprised by Macron's comments.
Well, which
He
one?
made a comment on nuclear weapons.
Agreeing to decentralize it, because
No,
I mean he said he
agreeing
was
to
going to
increase.
Yeah, and then keep some in some European
France.
states as well. That's what he said.
Yeah.
What's surprising about that? Because I mean, he didn't want that before, but
Yeah, but so it feels like now what's going to happen over the next few years is everyone's going to start investing heavily in defense spend. There's probably going to be an overspend on defense, right? Where people are going to even stockpile more than they need,
Which is welcome.
but
Is it?
but as we always do,
I don't know. So I think we have
welcomed?
to no. So we have to understand that the post 1945 world order, it's almost an aberration when you look at human history, right? The fact that we had this great peace, right, and we had a lot of brutal conflicts, but they were more like proxy wars, and you never really had any great power competition, especially post when the Cold War ended and the Iron Curtain came down, right? And I think we collectively have gotten used to that as our normal. And that's one of the challenges that I've been having, because this is making me sort of rewire the frameworks and how I think about the investment risk that I subject my client capital to, right? Because those rules and those expectations that govern those rules are not necessarily valid. And the sum total of what allows society to function in a particular way is the stories that we tell and the belief in those stories that we tell. When those stories are no longer valid, we need to replace them with new stories, right? What are the new stories we're replacing it with? And what are, if you've invested based on the expectation that the old stories are going to hold, what are the risks that you're exposing people to?
So a part of global understanding, at least in the last maybe few decades, is that America, Big Brother, will watch out for everybody. You know, the UK will support, France will come close, Germany would nod, you know, in like, yeah, we support this, and there was some sort of lining of the order. I think what also might have been is that construct was also keeping the world the way it was. And the world was growing. So China was growing in its own little sphere. Japan was growing. South Korea growing. North Korea becomes a nuclear threat. Iran grows also. The world is evolving from that hold. It's just that we might have not realized it. It took a Trump to come and shake it up, but these things have started to be for a while. So the conflicts between Ukraine and Russia, for instance, is one significant conversation. 20 years ago, that conflict would have never happened. The Ukraine as a whole would have never had the guts to take on, well, they were part of a union at that time, but I'm saying the guts to take on a Russia was not there 20 years ago. Right now, it is not only there, they feel they can win, right? And it is a legitimate fact.
Well, I don't think they can win, but you raise a very good point, right? Which is around this departure from unipolarity, and I think we spoke about it during our last section, which is the declining order. I don't want to call it the old order because it's not gone yet.
Yes,
but the
on the way out.
The declining order, right, worked in a world where you had a very dominant superpower, which was the US, right? And they shaped the world in a way that they saw fit, and they thought that in the long run they will benefit from it. The reserve currency status, the Bretton Woods institution, the security umbrella, those were US creations that underwrote that peaceful arrangement. But I don't think that world was designed with a global China in mind.
Yes, it was not.
And I think the calculus, right? And in a way, US elite inflicted this pain on them because they created the conditions that allowed
Forced
China
them to
rise to the scale.
I mean, and they benefited from that as well.
They benefited from a capitalist standpoint.
Of course, that's what funded a lot of their.
And they benefited a lot, right? But they created the conditions that allow, and they were quite arrogant. Again, this hubris thing, because they always felt like we could allow China develop, right? But we will always be able to cap out.
Yeah,
the US
can always
seems
control it.
Yeah, the US seems to always be happy to develop, but not to the point where you become a competitor.
Yeah.
Right? They tried to do the same with Japan, right? And when Japan was looking like it was too big in the 80s, they did everything to make the currency over appreciate, and then that created the real estate bubble, and then that bubble burst, and Japan never recovered, right? So it feels like the state of US arrangement is, okay, if you align with us, we will give you the necessary conditions for you to grow, but up to a certain point.
Yeah.
Right? Obviously, it looks like the Chinese outsmarted them, right? And now China became a dominant player and direct competitor in the US. In fact, you could argue that in certain industries, China now exceeds the US, right? And a part of this calculus is China. I'll take a step back. So, for example, when Trump 1.0 happened, and then there was the semiconductor ban, right? And obviously, China was an economy that was highly globalized and was making and still does a lot of export-led growth, right? But China quickly decided that, hold on, right? I don't control my supply chains, right? I'm very, very dependent on the West. So I think China went through a period of re-engineering its society at great cost. Because remember, China's stock market went down by 60%. China's real estate prices went by 25%. So it commandeered resources out of its consumer economy and moved it into industry, which unleashed deflation in the rest of the world. And it's probably why the rest of the world could run loose monetary policies and loose fiscal policies for such a long time, because China was exporting deflation. Because on the one hand, it killed its demand by destroying its consumer economy. And then on the other hand, it raised its supply by funding significantly industries. So China, and it kept its exchange rate low. So China exported deflation. So China is now very, very competitive. So when this Trump 2.0 fight now came, China was like fully de-Westernized to a large extent its supply chain. So when Trump came with my 20% tariff, China match, 40, China went up, 100, China went. I was like, what's going on here? And then China just turned the dial a little bit and put embargo on rare earth metals. Suddenly, plants in Minnesota, in Michigan stop working. Rockets you cannot fuel, and the US said, how did we get here? While we were basically using our excess capital to do buybacks and fund AI investment, these guys have just turned into an industrial juggernaut, right? So how do we choke them, right? So what I think may be happening is they're trying to uncycle, because you cannot produce commodities. You can't. I mean, you are improving like the scale at which you are generating power and those kind of stuff, but you still need your oil. You still need your
which
metal.
which is what brings me to takes us back to this whole war and looking at it from an economic standpoint. As much as this is as you theorized, perhaps this is Israel trying to be the dominant force in the Middle East, right? And then the US as well trying to say, okay, you know what, we're going back to the Monroe Doctrine and all that. In fact, Trump actually did say they wanted to go back to the Monroe Doctrine, right?
But the Monroe Doctrine is an artifact of them realizing that this global thing,
I know,
we cannot do it again.
Exactly. So to my point, so from an economic angle, why is all this happening? Just for the viewers, there's got to be an economic angle.
Before we go here, I also feel like, again, this is again, I'm going way off. Is that I feel like this war might also be a way to choke China.
It's not way off. I think
Isn't it one of the reasons?
From an energy perspective, right? A lot of China's crude supply is Russia, Iran, and Venezuela.
Russia has its
Venezuela makes up about less than 10% though.
So you're taking so you take Venezuela oil, you take it out, right? It's heavy, so you typically mix it. All the crude that comes out of Iran is bought by China. 90% of it is made by China. So now, if you are able to disrupt that, you close that door, right? So the only point is China can only buy from Russia going forward. That I feel is a big angle. Maybe that's what US is targeting.
So that goes into the calculus. But I would like to say that the petroleum intensity of the Chinese economy is also declining because China is adding nuclear capacity at unprecedented scale. China is adding renewable capacity at unprecedented. I mean, right now, the cost of power in China is a fraction of what it is in the US. That underpins, to a large extent, why its industrial economy is so vibrant, right? And China is adding capacity. I think China has 3 times or 4 times more electricity capacity than the US today. And its growth rate in capacity addition is faster than the whole of the Western economy combined, right? And increasingly, the delta of that capacity addition.
So you think this war is not going to affect China?
It will, but I'm saying that it is a lot more resilient today than it was in 2018 when this war started.
So, in theory, we're saying now that as much as an economic basis for this war would have been China, it could also be counterproductive to the West, because at the end of the day, we're now seeing energy prices go up in Europe. We're seeing the Strait of Hormuz essentially closed or shut down.
When you say the West, what are you talking about?
Europe and America.
Is Europe in the
Europe particularly? Because they're trying to
Europe chop the biggest game.
Because I don't think when I mean in the conversation, I mean in the conversation of disruption. I don't think they are.
But economically, they will suffer
they will suffer the fallout.
You see the price of LNG.
Yeah,
I mean that's direct into your, and that's why there's going to be a lot of social cost to these things if we don't off ramp very quickly. LNG went from
off ramp to where?
To try and end the conflict.
Okay.
End the conflict.
I thought you meant
LNG has gone to $10 per MMBTU from it's gone up almost 200% in the space of how many weeks?
3 or so.
Yeah, from 3.6 or 3.7, whatever it was. Right. That's a direct input cost. And luckily we're going into the summer. If it was the winter months, it's going to be a massive political issue.
Yeah.
Right. And the price of Brent relative to WTI, because WTI is a bit trapped. So the delta in Brent is faster than in WTI. So the US economy is a bit more insulated. Yes, it's affected by higher oil price, but relative to Europe mostly buy Brent or Brent plus, right? So the impact on Europe's competitiveness as a result, and now I'm even reading stuff about Germany trying to speak to the Ukrainians to allow the Russians to turn on the pipes again.
The gas. I heard that too.
You guys can fight, but can you fight for this side?
I know we're still supporting you, but give us gas. Okay, so what does this mean for Africa though? Does this open up any doors for us? would have wondered if that pipeline.
We're
that
talking sub-Saharan
building-
Africa, right?
Sub-Saharan Africa, of course. If that
So
pipeline
Ugo,
we're
I've
building all the way to Europe and worked.
said that the old system didn't really benefit us.
It did not.
Which old system are you referring to?
So the dollar-based,
The everything.
Bretton Woods economic system,
Mhm.
where because there was a massive constraint on African growth capabilities, and that was hinged on the fact that the capital that we needed and the equipment that we needed to rapidly industrialize were dollar-based assets. And the ability of us to naturally earn dollars was significantly constrained. So once we grow to a certain level, we get to a point where we cannot fund our investments anymore. Then we have big currency adjustments. That is what underpins the persistent currency crisis. There's incompetence, there's corruption. Let me not make it sound too simple,
easy, yeah.
right? But a huge part of the reasons why Africa would look like it's rising, everybody is celebrating, and then we'll just crash is because we get to a point where we are unable to sustain the pace of the dollars we need to fund our investment growth. So we kind of are constrained to a large extent, right? In a world where there is dollar conversation to be had, there is yuan conversation to be had, there is rupees conversation to be had, there is ruble conversation to be had, that improves your degrees of freedom.
It
right?
also even increases your ability to negotiate.
No, that's your degrees of freedom.
I don't think we had. I don't think we had a voice. We did not have a voice in the old order. I think because they are, just because you have multiple, you have multiple sellers now. I think there is a
multiple
better,
buyers. You mean
multiple buyers?
Yeah,
you have a better chance to get a better deal than in the old order when it was just 2 or 3 people. If you,
but who is buying from us, anyways?
Spain. Well, a lot of people have
Spain, India.
So the point I'm trying to make is, I think, because the old system was so detrimental to African growth story, right? Africa needed dollars. We know the battle with rating agencies that even though a country like Nigeria, who is a very good credit in terms of paying on time, you compare us to somebody like Argentina or you compare us to somebody like Greece, you keep wondering why we are priced at a premium, at a discount to those guys. Right?
Countries are constantly default.
They are constantly default. But for some reason, they just... And again, when people complain about this rating agency, I'm always like, well, their money, their rules, right? If you want to be on somebody else's table, you need to be able to dine on that person's terms, right? So, and that's a secondary conversation around the need to create deep capital markets in Africa, but that's a secondary conversation. I don't want to segue into the point I want to make. The major point I want to make is there's disruption. That disruption creates opportunities.
Yes.
Africa can benefit or be penalized from that opportunity depending on the strategic decisions that we make. So the question that I keep having is that, are we making the right sort of strategic decisions that would allow us benefit from this change in the status quo? Because remember, in a tripolar world or in a multipolar world, right, you're either conquered or you need to then, the political skill is now who do you align with? How do you make everybody feel like you like them and you don't hate them? This is
and
where
you hate the other person, but the other
That's what I'm
person.
saying. So how do we? I mean, maybe it's the wrong word. For want of words, how do we take advantage of what's happening globally?
So I want to. I think I've been paying attention to Aliko's African sojourn and some of his. The audacity in some of the things he's doing in, the other side of Africa, but the higher parts, in the conversations he's having, building factories here and there, doing deals. Those deals, I still say, I'm not sure those deals could have happened 10 years ago.
What kind of deals are you referring to?
So first of all, I think it's Ethiopia. They're building fertilizer refinery, $20 billion. I think there's also a refinery. The context is these governments are almost...
how do we fund this? How do we fund this project?
How does he fund it?
Yeah, how does he fund
so someone like Aliko already has the social capital to pull that kind of money. What I've done in Nigeria alone says I can pull $20 billion in an Ethiopia that is looking to be a more stable economy.
So let me try and flip this conversation now. So if we're saying that we're now in we're now staring at a world where it's just, regional global superpowers.
Yeah.
And a world where your level of development can be capped, right? What does it mean for us in Nigeria? Does it mean that, you can industrialize all you want, but there's just certain things that you can go beyond? What are those things?
No. So
we have a population of over 200 million.
It's a very good.
And I say this because we've talked about even the Trump plans to attack Nigeria, right? So maybe that's even on the cards. Who knows? Okay.
Attack terrorists.
Terrorists in Nigeria. I beg your pardon. So,
The way he said it, even fear
Bobby's
catch
still on
himself.
if you go check the video, they cast it to the headlines now. So it's still on the table, right? And then I think I was watching something on social media the other day. I think it was one of these US House of Rep guy or whatever, or somebody who came around and was saying that
They've done the report.
minerals was also a major
Yeah.
issue.
Well, the Chinese
So
mining.
so if you're in a world where this is now a new kind of Cold War, how does dining with China favor us?
No, but China again, we don't know. So
What sort of instability? Because sorry, Sam. Because now you're looking at China, fine. China is helping us industrialize and all that. When push comes to shove, man, and they decide
But
to
you
come
see,
out
Sam, this is
Nigeria,
the
what
thing.
would China
This is
do?
the point. This is the
China's not
point,
gonna
right?
come back.
Yeah, so this is the- yeah, that's the point, right?
I think it is wrong to believe, right, that any country, China, US, will defend Nigeria when Nigeria comes under attack.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. But Sam,
Ultimately, one of the reasons why we are vulnerable as a continent is that we don't have a military and we can't defend ourselves.
No.
Right?
But Sam, this is the thing. This is the thing. I think the problem is, look at it from this perspective. China. You can see the proxy issues around the world. The US sees significant movement between China and you, and then the US bullies you to remind you that you feel they talk to this guy, but
I owe you, man.
No, there's
now, this is my problem with China, right? China, in all its wisdom, has taken this stance of not confronting, even though we know they can, right? They've just taken that stance for whatever reason, right? So it doesn't, if you look at it properly, and if I check the math, right? If I know that America can just drop bombs on my head tomorrow if they wake up and decide to do that, and China will not do anything to support me. Whether even the email of support, let's even pretend we are supporting. Do you get that?
No,
let's even pretend.
I think
As in, you know,
but Tunji, we need to understand that the time frames in which the Chinese operate are very, very different from what the US guys operate as.
How do you mean?
The US is self-imploding. We need to accept
You
this.
think so?
Yeah, I think so, yes.
You don't think they are rebuilding?
No. Its institutions are collapsing. Right. It's and so from the Chinese perspective, right, you look at somebody that is basically acting like a big bully, its credibility among its allies. You look at things that McCartney says, you look at things that Macron says, right? You never would have imagined that 5 years, 10 years ago, those statements will come from people that you will share intelligence with. Yeah. So there's massive seismic shifts, right, that are happening in the Western Alliance. And if you are China, why would you want to get involved in that mess? You can just sit down. You already built a very dominant industrial economy. You will support people that you need to support. And I'm sure, right, the Iranians are getting support from the Chinese.
You think so?
I think so.
What kind of support?
that's the question. They
will not come out publicly to say it. But some of these missiles that are passing US defense systems anyhow, where do you think they came from?
You see the video of that hypersonic one? Jesus Christ.
From back then, but not from now. Which of the videos is that?
No, but again, so also China is not. So China, there's a reason why China is a 6,000-year-old plus civilization, or 2,000, whatever it is. So they think in centuries.
That's a scary statement.
They think in centuries.
I've heard of decades.
No, they actually do.
So like you might need them to move very, very quickly, and so China's approach to engagement is very incrementalist. China won't go from 0 to 100 with you, right? It will go from 0 to 0.1, 0.1 to 0.2. It's after a while you kind of see the impact that it had. It's always experiments. It's very iterative system. So I don't expect, right, that China doesn't want to go into a direct confrontation with the US. Right, it will continue to build its industrial capacity. For example, it has a faster shipbuilding capacity than the US and the rest of the Europe combined. And ultimately, warfare is about economic resource as long as you don't bring out the nukes. So, right, if you don't bring out the nukes, China go head to head with the US. I can wager that China wins because China has much bigger industrial capacity than the US. And it's actually goods industrial capacity. So it can turn it on quite quickly to become a war economy. The US will take a bit of time, take a bit of reorientation. It's a service-based economy. 70% of the economy is consumption.
Trump says the US is the strongest.
But what do you expect Trump to say? What do you expect him to say?
What they have is hard to argue.
What do you expect him to say?
But anyway, where does this end though? So what are your projections? How do you see this?
How many years does Trump have left in office?
No, let's even leave Trump. Where do you see this war? How does it end?
So two things. I actually did think about the splintering of Iran. It came to mind, but then hearing the new supreme leader come into office kind of felt like maybe this would...
Have they appointed him? Because it's rumored, right?
Oh, it's rumored, rumored. But I think just thinking about it again, this was the ultimate plan to kind of break that unity in the leadership of Iran. So it won't be that it will show a splintered front, but underneath, Otuba would think a different thing. He would think a different thing. We all expected it should have been Ugodre to be the supreme leader. So there'll be grumblings here and there, and then there'll be a divided front. And I think she just wanted a slightly weakened Iran from what it is right at this particular point. And that's fine for them. I think that's where it's going to end. Once they realize that they have weakened the structures,
Otumba,
they'll step back.
What ends this war? Is it economy or is it military?
I think it's both. So I think the first things first is one thing that Trump just said yesterday: oil must flow.
Can he make oil flow?
He sank their biggest submarine yesterday. They put a hole inside it. So
yeah, but remember the Strait of Hormuz is like a 20 or 30 kilometer place. You don't even need submarines to go and cause problem there. You can just put projectiles on top of your neck and fire missiles into that.
So I mean, I don't know how because he said that he also.
I read some maths the other day of what it might cost, and it was mind blowing. But go on.
And then
for the insurance, right?
Insurance, yeah. So
like the maths didn't
make sense.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone was going to put their ship at risk. We're going to go and pass through. I think it's a consideration for Saudi is thinking about how they can alternatively pass
the Red Sea,
through the Red Sea or an alternative route, but that still holds back.
You have the Yemenis there, right?
That's it.
The Houthis are there waiting.
Damn. So you have to. It's complex, right? But I think two things. I feel like U.S. goal is to weaken Iran, significantly. I think the second thing is to see if they can install their own sort of quasi leader. I don't know how they.
But how do you install a quasi leader?
If you don't take over the regime?
Rumors are they did it in Saudi.
They what?
The rumors are that they did that in Saudi.
Did what in Saudi? Install what?
Yes.
King Abdullah?
Yeah.
But that was a long time ago.
That was a long time
When
ago.
US power was like supreme.
But this one is different.
You can try again now.
Yeah, this one is
Maybe not install, but at least
something from one friendlier.
Exactly, friendlier.
All right, guys.
Leader.
Let's come down to Nigeria. What does this mean for us? What do we do?
You've already seen.
you've seen fuel prices.
You've seen it already now.
What else is good? So if this war, if we call it the war, goes on for another week or two, what could we be facing? We've seen exchange rate depreciate. I don't know if that's related. We've seen fuel prices slightly go up.
Yeah.
Right. Brent crude prices up as well, way beyond our budget benchmark. What does this mean? I mean, we're all investors here at the end of the day. What are we looking at?
I mean, this is what I spent the whole day in the office trying to figure out. I don't have the answers, but I'll just tell you how I'm thinking about it, and maybe you can get to the answers that way. There are multiple channels, right? Channel one is the crude oil price, right? It helps the terms of trade quite significantly, especially within the context of increasing product volume. And I think we will see product volume because of prior investments that have been made over the course of the coming months and quarters.
Product volume within the next 2 weeks?
Not 2 weeks. I'm talking about, I'm looking at a 12-month outlook. Right?
Okay.
I mean, 2 weeks, you might as well just go to Vegas and gamble. I have no idea, right?
Okay.
But I'm saying if this sustains and oil price stays elevated, how does it affect Nigeria,
Yeah.
right?
On the medium to long term.
On the,
All right.
Yeah. So I'm saying 6 to 12 months, right? So oil price stays up. We have very strong positive terms of trade. So the external account strengthens a bit, right? The trade-off, however, while you have a positive terms of trade, the inflationary impact is also higher because now you have a petrol product market that is a bit linked to the global market, which is why Dangote has ratcheted up prices, although it's still below import parity, but it's gone to like 1,000 something very, very fast because it doesn't, I mean, at that scale of refinery, if he loses like an extra $2-3, he's blown up, right? So it means inflation basically doesn't decline as fast as we anticipate it to be because there's a pass-through effect on the transportation side, right? So it's that balancing act that, okay, yes, you have more confidence around your terms of trade and your external account. Inflation is weaker, is weaker, so it's a bit stickier. It doesn't decline as fast, right? And then there is a final angle around risk appetite and confidence, because we know that our exchange rate stability and credibility has been anchored on short-term portfolio flows, right? And this is largely driven by risk sentiment, right? So in a world where
there's so much uncertainty,
there's global inflation, and likely, because with what is happening in big tech, likely the consumer weight of effects is going to decline in the rest of the world. We might have a significant pullback of capital. So the play-off that we're trying to work out in the office is, does the positive terms of trade that comes from high oil price and improved product volume, right, outweigh the inflationary dimension and the capital outflow? So some of the work I'm doing is like, okay, what is the stock of OMO? What is the stock of MTB? What is the stock of bond? What new bond maturities are due over the next couple of months, over the next 12 months? And I'm looking at that stock and then I'm comparing it to 3 factors, right? 1 is the price of crude. 2 is the volume that we expect. And 3 is the improvement in the plumbing of the pass-through of oil revenues to the fiscal revenues and the reserve. Because those 3 factors are positive at the moment, especially on the back of this PSC contract that NNPC has said, and I understand they're also going after the JV. Right?
Yeah, they are.
So they're also going after the JV. So, I mean, our estimate is that PSC alone would unlock about 1.2, 1.3 trillion of incremental revenues at 2025 prices. So 2026, that is even higher, right? So on top of that, right, you then have higher oil price, higher volume. So you have these dollar inflows that are coming. We haven't quantified it yet. So that's the work we've been doing in the office. So does that allow you to easily exit the stock of foreign-owned portfolio investments in Nigeria in a way that is not disruptive to prices? I can't answer that today, but that's the framework that we're using to try and figure out what happens.
I think it does. But the fear really is there anyone? Okay, I let me reword what I was thinking, because is there anyone within the finance ministry, architecture, or CBN that is thinking this through?
Revenue finance minister.
They get paid more than us. I would assume that they should be. That's their job, no?
Revenue ministers for finance.
There's a reason why we are not ministers of finance. If that's
revenue ministers of finance.
Minister of State. That's Taiwo. I mean, Taiwo is competent.
Exactly.
So,
I don't know why you're...
What did I say? I didn't say anything.
Atuma, what you take?
I think, the inflation angle, right? It speaks to why, I did call that we should not cut the rate last week. I feel like now
You
that...
didn't? I thought you went for
I voted 50 basis points. Where I would have loved us to
2 weeks ago, by the way.
would have been to
hold rate, yeah.
But there's no difference.
There's no difference, but that was all signaling, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, it just tells you that this inflation that we thought we're going to collapse is not going to collapse anymore. So there will be a need to hold, and that inflation rate will kick in. People will feel it. If the currency devalues, and which is why again I'm also of the view that they need to get the reserves to a place where we're not of 60. Right, not of 60. Obviously, you also have to worry about the composition. So as that as someone said, as the outflows are coming, are we able to replace and manage that process in a way that makes sense? So if we're getting better oil receipts, and obviously the improvement in this new.
Sorry, the currency doesn't devalue anymore. We are not in a market-based regime. Depreciates. Like, use the right word.
Yeah, use the right nomenclature.
Depreciates, right? I also like the what the government did with the NNPC, right? So that means that there'll be better pass through to the FAC. So I think that might be more resilient, being a more resilient place. But
So from a fiscal side, we probably might be sound.
No, not resilient. So that's the thing that I'm worried about. Is that you have more money doesn't mean it translates into robustness, because that you lost money here and you're making money here
not enough to cover
doesn't
what you
mean that
lost.
the two hands together now.
but if one is accreting faster than the other, you should be able to manage that process.
My
But that's
point
the point.
is
So,
there needs to be somebody in the middle that understands that money is going here and money is increasing here, and we need to somehow.
Well, Cardoso is the guy there, right?
now.
So at least we're confident around.
Cardoso is the guy there. How do you mean?
So
where does Cardoso
is it
because
become
he's the
this?
guy.
Cardoso really?
If liquidity dries up, he's the guy that's going to need to figure out an orderly way to exit.
No,
the
but we're saying
FPIs.
liquidity is not drying up now. We're saying
So-
that
so this-
fiscal buffers will go
So this
up.
is the point, right?
So the problem now is now the cost side of things.
Yeah, exactly. So, Cardoso is the banker to the
I guess
conversation.
Cardoso's point is probably to keep interest rates
high.
Yeah.
So it keeps interest rate high. I also don't think I think the macro setup is such that I don't think you will see. Factly, if you're going to have a lot of foreign investors that knock on the door and they want to take their cash out, the right thing to do is to allow the market to reflect that pressure, right? But not in a way that is disruptive,
Yeah.
right? Caruso has told you that Caruso has made my life seem easy because he's told me what he cares about, which is price stability.
Yeah.
So he will only react when he feels like his objective is being threatened. A 10% movement in the Naira from where it is today
fine.
doesn't
End of the
threaten
world.
price stability. It's not the end of the world. So he will allow that adjustment to happen. And I think that adjustment...
10%.
Yeah, I think, yeah. So we go from 1,350 and we're at 1.5.
I mean that before.
Yeah, it's...
My projections are still.
I think that would require you exiting. I think that would require you exiting the stock of portfolio en masse. But again, the question that someone asked me in the office today was, when you sell your Nigerian position, what do you even buy? Because like when you, as crazy as it sounds,
Yeah, you're
Nigeria,
right, though.
Nigeria is less risky.
I'm telling you, what do you buy out there that really gives you that alpha at the end of the day?
Buy
Except you just go
defense
into
stocks, right?
You go into defense stocks and all
Yeah,
that.
but those things already bubble like they've
Yeah.
already like
Maxed out.
But
yeah.
I feel like the growth trajectory. We agree that countries are going to over.
the
invest.
Riam.
Those industries will probably be robust over the next 3-4 years.
Man,
So
I don't know.
I'll
I don't know
probably
about
But
difference,
I just struggle
they all
looking
look
at
like bull traps.
I always struggle when I'm analyzing a stock, right? And then I look at the story. The story is great, and then I look at the price. I just get depressed. Like for example, I was looking at a Chinese LiDAR manufacturer. So LiDAR is these laser sensors that you use in cars. Somehow the Chinese have figured out how to produce this. These things used to cost like $40,000 like 10 years ago. They figured out how to produce this thing at like $300, right? And so I was like super excited because obviously with LiDARs, you reduce traffic risk, you reduce accidents, autonomous vehicles need them, robots need them. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be a dominant company. Let me go and buy. I entered my stockbroking account. I entered the stock. It's called HESI. It's listed in the US, so easy to even access. And then when I looked the multiple, 65 times earning. I say, Haba. If it was even 30 times, 35 times, I would squeeze my face and buy it. But 65 times, do you know how much growth needs to come for you to make your money? So that's the point with defense stock.
But that's also the issue with buying multiples, because at the end of the day, I mean, even though I don't want us to segue, but when you're investing, really, in this day and age, what are you really investing in? Are you investing? So, are you investing in multiples? Because if you're not investing in multiples, you're investing in dividends. So you don't expect that company to ever pay dividend.
No, it
So
won't
you're,
pay dividend.
so you're investing in a growth story. So
Yes, but again, the
what's
growth story,
fear?
again,
the growth story
but
is
the
that
growth story-
the higher the multiples, the better for you.
No,
So all
because
these things,
if you miss your growth direction, the way you will get flogged,
Yes.
the way you see what's happening to Nvidia right now.
Good.
Yeah.
And they're not even missing growth. The market just don't tire for them.
They're just tired for the story. They're just tired for say, "Oh boy, you don't do
No,
it."
it's not as they are
But
tired.
the margins in that business.
What are their multiples right now?
margins there is
What's
beautiful.
the
So
Nvidia's multiple
I
right
don't
now?
think it's with the margins. It's a case of the story was this was the company that was going to fuel or power the AI story.
But that hasn't changed.
no, it
It's not
has.
changed because people are
It
now
has.
asking because those data
It
center
has.
build out. Because
Exactly,
those
it
data
has.
center build out, people are now questioning.
It has immediately changed the Nvidia story to change because the thought was, let me just, instead of investing in AI, let me invest.
Let me
in-
buy the shovel. Yeah,
exactly,
yeah,
the
let me
shovel.
buy
So
the
it was a
shovel.
shovel story.
Yeah.
But immediately you realize that it be like say you need more than shovel. You need wheelbarrow. You need digger. You need all.
Nvidia is trading at 36 times multiples. So
It's derated a lot. That thing was at 60 at some point, right? So it's
I
derated a lot.
remember early days it was like
And it
80.
could still
even.
continue to derate because it's very tied to data center build out.
Exactly.
And the market is massively now questioning.
Flogging everything.
You see, CoreWeave and those guys, they don't flog them.
But
Like
you
say
know,
the thief.
as crazy as everything sounds, any winner in any of these conversations will be significantly huge, despite even the 65 times multiple, right?
me,
A
oh,
winner
me.
in that space.
For me, oh, in AI, there's no winner.
It can be an entry point, sir.
I don't think there's a winner in AI.
So guys, where do we put our money?
I don't think. Let me
we put our
explain
money?
this.
Our
If
bar,
AI
we put our money in our bar.
Okay,
I told them
if
they don't
AI
want to hear.
succeed
Bring
or
your
AI
money.
fails, we are going to lose. I'll
If
explain
it succeeds
why.
or fails, we're going to lose.
Yes.
Ah.
If it fails, it's going to be the biggest
Big
capital
bubble.
misallocation in
Yeah.
history.
And we're
If
going
it
to
fails,
lose.
if it succeed, I use Claude and ChatGPT and Perplexity in the office, right? It's impressive what Claude can do, right? And the CEO of Claude,
I'm using Copilot.
yeah, and no, you have to use Claude. It's expensive,
use
but
Claude.
you have
Gemini,
to use Claude.
Gemini.
But it's just too expensive.
No, Claude is expensive.
I'm
Claude
selling
chops your money
Gemini.
well. So
I'm
the
selling
revenue model
Gemini.
works for Anthropic. But the output, if you work in finance, is second to none,
Okay.
right? The point I'm making is, so the CEO of Anthropic, right, said that Claude could potentially replace 50% of service workers, white collar jobs in America. And then I went to BLS and I checked what proportion of total employment is white collar.
Statistics.
Yeah. What proportion of is 60%, right? So just assume the guy is only 20% correct. That's 6 percentage points of unemployment. Add to the current 4%. That is the unemployment rate that we had during the global financial crisis, right? And think about the US economic structure. A lot of it is tied to employment, consumer confidence, and access to credit, right? If you can't get a job or you are losing job at that scale and you cannot spend
okay, I see
and you
what you
cannot access credit,
The economy will cripple.
the economy will crap out. And when the economy,
So either way, we're screwed.
whether it succeeds or it fails, we're screwed.
So succeed.
We're screwed.
I think we're screwed.
AI is bad for humanity.
Whoever brought this development
So
has created
in
problem
a
for
world
us.
where, but I think governments always have a way of handling things like this. I mean, all you just do is just
They want to tax the.
Yeah.
This is the point. So
You
if you're
tax
going to
them, and
buy
then you just
open
they will just
AI,
be staying at home. No,
so if you are going to buy open AI, hoping that they are going to create monopoly profit at some point, and that will make you very wealthy, that tax is coming.
yeah, it's gonna come.
And the scale of that tax
It's gonna
means
be
that your
windfall.
economic return. That's why I
Yeah.
say whether they succeed or whether they fail,
that tax is gonna come.
there is cane
Because
coming.
because you're not going to create you're going to create an innovation that just stops people from working, and then government won't do anything.
Yeah, but you know, have you watched these movies
It's
where,
just chaos.
where people wake up and just get on bicycles and they're just cycling, and that cycling is what they use to generate energy.
Unless
Party, that's how you make money. So that's the
the data center. So
future.
you wake up and just be
Put your
cycling.
work in cycling now, bicycle.
or AI can just
That's fun.
AI can just create the metrics, make all of us sleep, create an alternative world where we all have jobs and we're inside that world and we are
The more work you make, the more sleep you get.
Oh my God.
Anyways, I mean, we hope that the war in the Middle East ends pretty soon, whichever way. I mean, it just has to end. I don't want us to go into the legality or illegality of the war and all that. We're just talking about the economics of it. And as you see, there are opportunities for us here in Nigeria. It just depends on how you play your game. But just to close on this war and go come to local matters. What should we hold in? Naira, dollar? Tunji?
Hey.
Still Naira.
What do you want to hold now? Like with everything that's happening. It's almost like saying, where would you want to be? Dubai or Nigeria?
Nigeria sweet.
London or Nigeria?
My brother.
Nigeria sweet.
My brother.
I never thought I would say this.
But I think I'll tell you what may have done. I just as a habit, right? Just hold some USD, right? For account, do that. But I've realized that I've started shifting it small. It's like a little more Naira, not heavy dollars anymore. But because I also know what emerging economies are, I don't want to buy the hype fully. Because so many times when you don't buy the hype, you just dump your dollars and the thing will just go zoosh. I remember the last time I dumped my dollars was, I think it was 400 Naira to $1. Everybody can remember this. This was just before COVID, or right around when COVID hit. 400 Naira to $1. I was just like, everybody's saying it's going down, it's going down, it's going down. So I just dumped everything. We know what happened afterwards. So I think for me, I've not seen enough to dump dollars yet. I've not seen enough.
No, I think Naira. Ultimately, if this war goes as long as, if it goes longer than expected.
But DYDX is pointing to dollar now, isn't it?
DXY, you mean?
Or DXY, I beg your pardon.
I mean, the amount of money they're going to spend on this war, if they don't stop it very quickly, right? It would mean that the US is going to, we talked about Trump over borrowing. It seems like that. They're going to probably overly borrow, or like spending is going to be crazy. So the weakness of the dollar is going to definitely kick in. So
there's
I will still be.
There's a part people are not really focusing on. A huge part of the US bubble has been driven by capital recycling from the petrodollar states to the Chinese surplus to the Asian surplus and those guys. And this is why, like, even at full employment, the market was easily tolerating 6.5% deficits in the US, right? Now, like, there is a need, right? With all these tripolar war things that we're talking about, people are like, this dollar that we're sending to the US, we need to spend it at home. For example, Europe is a surplus economy. Europe needs to spend a lot of these dollars at home. Even the Japanese, that have been a source of massive carry trade, funding currency, are telling you that we need to spend. Those ones are even worse. They even have an army, and they have nuclear armed North Korea next to them. So
who has been flexing, by the way?
So those ones are like, we need to redevelop, we need to reindustrialize. This excess dollar that you are earning, put it at home, right? Chinese, the same thing. So my point is the capacity to continue to fund excessive US deficits in the US while you are driving those deficits higher. Because remember, 6.5 times of fiscal deficits, these are crisis level deficits number, right? This is with global financial crisis kind of deficits that we ran, COVID kind of deficits. So this is our starting point. And I think it's going on back to what Dele said, it's going to go into overdrive. So within that context of excessive deficit spending, very high level of current account deficits, increasing at the margin. Dollar will always remain a dominant currency, but at the margin, the trust is not as strong, right? So when you get, for example, China recycles 100 billion a month of dollars. That's the deficit that it gets, right? In the past, that 100 billion, it will go and buy Nvidia, go and buy this, go and buy that. And obviously, now it's thinking that 100 billion, maybe of that 100 billion, maybe 40 billion, I should go and buy something else. It will still put the 60 billion, but the market has gone from recycling 100 billion a month to now 60 billion. That's a massive impact on pricing, right? And also, there's something that has happened in the last month that people have not paid attention to. The renminbi has been strengthening quietly, right? So for a lot of local guys, because this 100 billion a month, it's not the government that has all the money. It's entrepreneurs that have sold products to the US and is stuck in bank accounts in Hong Kong. Those guys have been keeping the money. So when you end that excess, you keep the money in Hong Kong, you in HSBC you use it to buy treasuries or you use it to buy Nvidia stock, right? And you've been losing 2%, 3% a month, a year on the renminbi, and your real estate alternative asset is down 25%. So that's a good trade. That's been a good trade in the last decade. So these entrepreneurs have been doing it. Now, if you think that the Chinese currency is going to be strengthening, which I think it will be, right? And then there's really concerns around the US, which I think there is. When that money comes, like, do you really want to buy US assets? Maybe you go and buy PetroChina. Maybe you go and buy the beating down real estate in the market. Maybe you recycle it and go and buy another. So the point I'm making is the incremental direction for purchase of the dollar is negative. So within that context, I agree with Dele completely that, yes, you might see risk-related strengthening in the short term, but I actually think the direction is probably, I think there's a structural bear market in the dollar that is evolving.
So are you guys essentially unwinding your dollar assets?
No, I'm not.
I am.
So why are you then betting against it?
That's different because I have a 90% cost base in USD and 10% in Naira. So my balance sheet is very different from everybody else.
Okay.
Since November 2024, outside of my house in the UK, which I bought before I moved to Nigeria, I don't have anything else outside of the country.
Isn't that a risk?
Yeah, but it's worked out very well in the last 2 years, right? In the last 3 years, Naira asset-wise, if you've invested in the stock market, you invested in my products, you're probably up 6 times. Right? At some point, you will chop cane, but the macro is aligned, right? This is why you're spending a lot of time trying to understand the impact of this. The point I'm making is it's risky, right? Of course, it's risky. However, like for example, I had pound liabilities when my family was in the UK, right? So I had to pay school fees, I had to pay mortgage. In the summer this year, I changed that. So I brought them back to Nigeria, right? So they are here now. So all my cost is Naira. So my only. So on that basis, so my only liability is my small mortgage that I have in the house that I
know. But at the end of the day, as you're going up the ladder of that Maslow's theory food chain, at some point you want to own asset outside Nigeria. Doesn't that now become you want to own you want to rule like
so when you are rich like
Samad,
when you are rich like Tunji when
but you people see that it's that bullying. I mean, it's that bullying.
When you are rich like Tunji, right? So for me, I'm at the stage of my life. I'm talking about personal finance here, not the fund, right? I'm at the stage of my life where capital accumulation speed is very critical, right? At some point, it's going to be capital protection, right?
Okay, so we're like, okay.
So my priority
is
capital accumulation.
That makes sense. It's very important to discern that, and that's why it's important for you guys to understand.
I try not to have us
always understand where you are in your life.
Yeah, I try not to have us explain things on the show, but this is something that is very critical. It's you are in a place where you're in a place where you're in a sweet spot of making money. That is not the time to chill. Make it as quickly as
much as you can. Then when you've now settled down, you're now diversifying protection. So that's why, like, when people say in finance that diversification is the best way to make money, I always laugh. I'm like, the people who have made the most money have taken big single bets.
In a way, I mean, it's always been risk and reward at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
All right, so we'll move on to the next topic. GDP numbers were out. I know, did you guys discuss it the last time? Not sure it was discussed the last time, but GDP numbers were out during the week. Well, last week. And Nigeria's economy grew by 4.07%. Q4 2025. Isn't that good?
4.07.
That's strong, yeah.
Isn't that good? Yeah, it's strong. And from what I saw, I mean, agriculture expanded 4%. In the fourth quarter of the year, industry 3.88%, services 4.15%. So, if I recall correctly, nominally, I think full year GDP we're at 400 plus trillion naira.
Nominal.
Nominal in terms of GDP. But what stuck to me is we're still increasingly a service-based economy. So despite a lot of all the reforms that we've seen, in terms of our industrial output, still not at the level that we probably think it should be, even in terms of industrial growth. We're still largely driven by services. How does this key into this reform story that the current administration is basically pushing? is it really working?
I see how you spin that question.
I was going with you till we got to the junction. I was like, drop me here.
We flogged this horse plenty times, but I think you want us to flog
New numbers are
Drop me
so
here.
your theories and your hypotheses of the past, are you still sticking by it? That's my point. Because I mean, there's so much reforms that we've done that you expect to see uptick in industrial output. Not happening yet. Is it that? I mean, too early?
So I have my view. Otuba believes I'm trying to, Sam too believes that I'm too eager to move for greater, because yes, reform is good, right? Putting the structural foundations are fantastic, but like we are just learning, all it takes for all your projections to go out of the window is for America to drop a bomb on Iran, and then you have your calculations just miss greatly. And that was what I was saying, that when everything is going good, double down and take advantage of that time, because you don't know what tomorrow. The differences between quarters can be hugely significant in the world that we live in. And I've seen Nigeria, one quarter is good, the next quarter is terrible, the two quarters after that comes back to sweet again.
I hope we don't have that.
You get, so I know that. So if we were in a sweet spot, which we were maybe for the last 12 months, 24 months, I felt double down, find as much money as you can, put it in. Because if we had gotten all that, if we had gotten more capital in, if we had been able to double down, cut rates, we would now be plugging the money into development, while of course we know inflation would hit. But at least at least we'll be looking at infrastructure being built, and we'll know that, okay, this is short-term pain to be able to gain something. Right now, we don't have the infrastructure being built.
Yeah, but you have to remember that while everyone went around the rest of the world to look for money, he didn't find anything.
Maybe we shall send somebody else.
Really? I mean, are you saying he didn't find?
No.
I mean, we got FPIs in.
And it's not
if he didn't find them, we should have sent somebody else.
Not being do FPI.
I mean, but FPIs wouldn't have entered if you didn't have a good macro study.
Now Mayokun and Kaduso, that's the people that did the FPI magic. Sorry, and the banks, of course. The banks did a lot of heavy lifting there, like Standard Chartered.
If you couldn't raise the money, then find somebody else. It's as simple as that. We knew we needed to raise capital.
No, but the macro. So I'll say this, right? Nigeria has been through a complete price reset across the board, right? What happened in the past is that the price, for a market-based economy, the price signaling information was completely bastardized across all spectrum that you are supposed to get a price signal. The price of money was wrong. The price of exchange was wrong, right? The price of transport was wrong.
Price of labor, price of capital,
of electricity.
So price of everything was wrong. So we've now had to recalibrate, right? Now the pricing signals are now working. In a capital-based system, and obviously confidence is also a very important factor in pricing, forcing you to do things, right? So now the price signals are clear. We know where the capacity gaps are. So as entrepreneurs, we know where we need to deploy capital to make money.
Yeah.
However, right, we still are.
I wanted to say where, but go on.
So
no, we know now.
So, however, we still have doubts.
Yeah,
these people not too serious before. Have they changed? Right. So expectations have not been fully built. Right. But increasingly, we're starting to see like behavior from corporates. So capex, for example, I was blown away when I saw MTN's capex when they reported like 1.1 trillion of capex, right, from like 400 billion. So they've stepped up capex intensity quite fast.
Is that an exchange rate issue?
Exchange rate played a role, but I actually think that the capex to revenue ratio, which we neutralize for exchange rate effect, went up as well, right? So capex intensity went to about 19%. Those are big numbers. And if you actually look at other companies, you can tell that capex intensity capacity is improving. So the market has started to respond to the pricing signals, right? It will take a bit of time for you to see that industrial growth that you're talking about. And it's not, I don't want us to assume that it's going to happen automatically. What the reform did was help us reset our pricing reality to drive allocation of resources across the economy. Right? To drive the allocation of resources economy, we're back to, you need to kickstart an investment cycle. To be able to do that, you need to have a functioning banking system, and that banking system has now been cleaned up and the lending capacity and headroom has been expanded, right? That's one. Number two, you need a functioning capital market. This is why I went apeshit on this capital gains issue in November, because I'm like, it is not the right time. I know the government needs to raise money, but let's just remove any friction for capital aggregation. And you need to allow the industry to build deep, large capital pools, right? Yeah. So you need that, and then you need the FDIs. So it's a combination of those factors, right, that will now drive the necessary investment and the industrial output that Ugo Dre talks about. So to your question, we are early in that journey. There's still a lot of heavy lifting, because also remember the federal government also needs to do its own in debottlenecking the supply the supply side, which is infrastructure, education, and those kind of stuff. So I don't want to sound like I'm a praise singer to this administration, and I think sometimes I've been misconstrued as that. That's not what it is. I'm just looking at the data and what the data is telling me, right? The probability of kickstarting an investment cycle under this regime is higher than at any point I have seen since Obasanjo.
Which was my point, really.
So
why didn't we do it?
So why hasn't it kickstarted
Exactly.
yet?
Because we were going through the cleanup stage now. I mean, this banking sector capitalization at this month today.
You cannot clean up forever.
Okay. Can we look at our annual GDP numbers? Starting from 2021, 3.4% in 2021, 3.1% in 2022, 3.04% in 2023, 3.38% in 2024, and 3.87% in 2025.
The direction is right now. The scale is not that much, and we need to
much, no.
but the direction. But what I was happy about our GDP numbers, I know you don't like it, but agriculture, and that one is very confusing to me, because we also had big import bill in agriculture as well, and that should deduct from GDP. Because one of the reasons why you had that massive 8 percentage point, because food inflation was like 8, just sub 9% in the last inflation print. I mean, you could argue about statistical MBS doing their shenanigans, but
wait, I will not take that. I will not. You know, I will not take that. I don't understand. I don't understand. As long as I'm here, yes. Slander shall not be taken.
They did their shenanigans, right?
It shall not be taken.
One thing is clear: food inflation is down.
Yes,
there's disinflation, or
not back to 2023 levels.
It cannot go back now.
Not disinflation, just stabilization.
I keep.
Obedience said they want it back to 25k per bag of rice.
Inflation.
Obedience.
Inflation.
That's what they want.
I think
you gotta give them what they want.
You want them to drag us on the show.
Inflation.
I'm serious.
No.
It's not legit.
You saw my head. You saw my head.
Is it not a legitimate request?
But it's not a legitimate request.
It is not.
Why is it not a
Because
legitimate request?
in order to get us back to that type of pricing, two things have to happen.
What is it?
It's either you have to have very strong confidence that supply at a price is going to come. If you want the market to get that price, we need to be able to ensure that we are producing at a cost that guarantees that price, and we have enough supply to guarantee that price. I'll come to that. And then, or the second thing is that you go to Buhari and you choose the price, and then tell everybody that if you don't sell at that price,
no, boy, even Buhari didn't do that.
He did it in
the second time.
1984.
It wasn't all right.
No. We cannot.
So the point I'm trying to make is we can wish anything we want in this life. We need to deal with economic reality. We don't have the supply capacity, and we don't have the cost advantage that can give us that pricing reality. And as brutal as it sounds, when you were buying rice at 25k, you were being subsidized.
Yes. And
isn't it all right to subsidize?
Who's right?
Ugo Dre.
Right.
Ugo Dre.
At what expense?
At
what expense?
Let me even say this way. If we ever get back to 25k as at today's
I will sell
exchange
everything
rate
in Nigeria and I'll leave the country.
Wait, first of all, no, wait. Now, it's the reality. I think
Because it
people
means that we're
don't
not
get
serious
economics. People don't get economics.
price cannot come down naturally to
See,
25K.
let me say this. If at today's exchange rate, if at today's exchange rate and today's economic realities, somebody is able to produce 25K bags at scale, what will happen is that people will go and buy it in large quantities and export.
So are you guys saying now that the way the economic construct today, we can't ever
I'm not
see
saying
rice,
ever.
a bag of rice at
You
25,000 naira.
cannot jump. You cannot.
I swear for you.
You cannot miraculously
The only
jump.
way you can guarantee that for me is that somehow Nigerian farmers just become so productive.
But we've seen rice go from 120 to like 60 something.
Yes,
But
yes,
inflation
yes, but the exchange rate strengthened and they opened the floodgates.
Exchange and imports.
Yeah, imports. So why can't we see that 25 with more imports?
At what price?
More import. You see problem. You want to import more? Is it not?
Yeah, but even the import, the price when they import them, is it 25,000?
Exactly.
Where you're getting
But they're also saying that exchange.
Cost price.
But they are saying that.
My guys used to say pump price. Pump price.
Wait,
When did they say
but they are
that?
saying that the value of the naira
Yes.
is about 1K1.
I don't disagree with that.
Wait,
I've
then we are.
I don't disagree
So
with
at
that.
that price, you're saying we can't be at 25K.
we won't now.
Yeah, I don't
When it
disagree
was
with
25K, was it 1K to the dollar?
That's a different.
So the fair value of the naira is a separate debate.
Yeah.
Frankly, I want the naira to stay weak. That's my own opinion.
You know, guys, the reason why I say this is because, I mean, there's an audience out there that just believes that until things revert back to what it was before, then we haven't made any progress.
No, they are not answering the question
are they
properly.
wrong?
They are wrong. Because what they should actually be saying is that I need the income to justify the current prices that I'm seeing. So it's not the income
It's not an expense issue. It's not a cost issue.
It's an income
issue
problem.
that we have.
Yeah. So they're expressing an income problem as an expense problem, and that's not what the issue is.
And I
The
think
issue really is that Nigerian labor, cost of labor, and Nigerian wages is what is creating the pain. So in order for you to create more wage, right, you need to raise your productivity level. You can either raise your productivity level by investing in your education and getting better jobs, or you can either raise it by using better equipment. You can raise it by the government giving you more infrastructure. But we need to be more productive, right, so that companies make more money. And if companies make more money, you can pay people higher.
Yeah.
If your income was 100 and you are more productive, that your income is now 300, if price go up by 100%, your take-home pay is still more.
Yes.
So they are expressing an income problem that is an expenditure problem, which is not correct.
This is not even unique to Nigeria alone, right? Globally,
It's the same thing.
It's the same
But
thing.
I think let's go back to the ethos of drinks and mics. And I think I wrote that article this week about why we're doing this. The idea is, when you go on Twitter and you see what people tweet, and you're just like, basic common sense sometimes is missing in just the conversation that is happening. And the whole point of this show is for us to increase the quality of discourse.
Yeah.
Right? You might not like what you hear, but the idea is that the varying views on this table, around this table, will give everybody to land somewhere, right? But the assumption that rice will go back to 20,000 naira, it means that dollar should go back to 500 or something. That's only then can.
And I think
Or your productivity has to go through the roof.
and if your productivity goes through the roof, a few things will happen. Productivity goes through the roof, jobs will be created, your income will increase. At that point, the bag of rice will not matter to you if it is 25,000 or 65,000.
So how do you explain to, because that's always been the conundrum, how do you explain to people that exchange rate really shouldn't matter if, one, you have productivity, right? You have a market environment, and then you have income that is at least matching productivity, right? Which is really what because in other climes, what they tend to go for is minimum wage. So you know what? Income has got to go up. So nobody bothers about, so when you're talking about gas prices and all that going, nobody's saying, artificially bring it down.
They're
telling you it's either you figure out the cost elements of it, or you increase minimum wage, or one other element which I want you to also talk about, and which I'm always very keen on, is credit. And I've always said that the one thing that is lacking in this
But you need
economy-
income for credit, so it's
I
still the
agree.
same.
One way or the other.
Same,
But credit,
Chicken
in a
and
way,
egg.
it's chicken and egg, but credit in a way drives income too, right? So credit just needs to unlock this quagmire that we'll find ourselves in. We're in a market.
That's why I think to bring Uzoma here, because I think that would be a good person to talk to on credit, given that he's
Which Uzoma is that now?
Credit Corp.
Okay, Credit Corp.
Yeah, and I think
we'll bring him here.
I think we
We'll bring him here.
should, so that he can talk to what they are doing on the credit side. It's interesting, but I want to go to a point that you've made, and it's a point that really frustrates me a lot. It's that our elites, and we are all guilty on this table and elsewhere, our elites has made us believe that economic success is exchange rate strength.
Yes.
Right? And it's a scam.
Yeah.
I would explain, because they have. This guy just told you that 90% of his cost base is dollars. Right? Our elite cost base is not Naira. So for them, exchange rates. Our exchange,
you know where I was going. You don't refute them.
He said, so they have basically created an economic narrative that allow the rest of the population to subsidize their own expenditure. And then making it look like that is what economic success is about. Go and look at history. South Korea, China, they've all been able to develop with suppressing the exchange rate value and not making the exchange rate strong.
Yeah.
Go and look at 60-year data on South Korea, even the Japanese. What you need to measure is the productivity of your people.
Yes.
Are they producing more output today than they were yesterday? Exchange rate is secondary to that conversation. Exchange rate is only exchange rate. The guy who benefits from exchange rate, that them wiki will get their children for King's College London.
But Sam, the point then is that how do you benefit from a continuously weakened exchange rate where your productivity is not increasing?
Problem. So we come back to the same issue. So fundamentally, we have a productivity issue. Because if we are productive more than the value of our exchange rate depreciation, actually our export economy will be booming.
Let me tell you a joke. Let me tell you a joke. Something happened this week, and I scattered laugh. You know, I had to fill my tank twice this week. I did a lot of waka. And one of the things I was warned, you know, reviews about the car is that this thing consumes a lot of fuel.
Which of your cars are you talking about now?
Maybe not G-Wagon now, who knows? This guy is just...
Not finish it and talk.
Maybe it's him who give a tumba too, because...
The thinking I had...
Are you a Tumbada?
No, I'm not. The thinking I had was, but when they talk subsidy removal, I'm not going to talk, right? I'm not going to complain. But the man on the street that rarely buys fuel will be up in arms with a very loud voice to keep fuel low for me
to benefit.
It's weird. It's absolutely
What makes you think
weird.
that person doesn't buy fuel?
No, he obviously doesn't buy fuel. He doesn't buy the scale at which I buy. Because no matter what it is.
Let me explain.
But doesn't it affect their prices though?
The quantity of fuel he's buying versus the income is significant. So it might be that the guy needs 5 liters, but his income is 1,000. So that makes it a problem.
So he can't even afford.
For you, that more petrol you are using, right, as a percentage of your income is maybe 1 or 2%.
Absolutely. But the context is this. The long-term effect of a subsidy on him versus me is completely different.
But the foundational issue is we don't trust our political class.
Bam.
So, I mean, you see now the governors are dancing in cash, right? All the reforms have benefited them, right? What I would have expected, because they have far more fiscal headroom than Abuja does.
Yeah.
Right? And they have far more capex discretion than Abuja does. Are we seeing the scale of primary healthcare development?
Boom.
Are we seeing the scale of education investments?
The real conversations
are we seeing
are not
the scale
hard.
of like this guy?
Because
like,
we're
all praising Tinubu. And I'm not saying this guy is perfect. He has his flaws.
I was saying that they did not go and tar as they're doing the Lekki Expressway right now.
Yeah.
If they did not tar that road, I swear I'd rather vote for ZPC.
What was ZPC?
It's a custodian.
Zenith party.
No, but the point again I'm making is the reason why people scream about, because the social contract that exists between the governed and the government is damaged.
It is.
Right? There is a lot that needs to be done to restore that credibility. So the fight often is not about the subsidy. The fight is, I lose this small benefit that I'm getting from this government I cannot rely on, right? Only for you to now be using it to go and buy a house in Dubai and carry girlfriends and buy houses for them in Dubai. That's what pisses people off.
So let me. I had a conversation with a vice president, one of the former vice presidents, 2 weeks ago, and we're basically trying to have a conversation around education, and he said, "Listen, when you go to this political class, governors or state governors don't put money in schools because it doesn't need to vote." Very powerful statement. It doesn't, if I go and repair a school today, the people that are in that school, the children, they're not voting.
But if I repair roads.
But if I go and if I give rice, that's what gets me votes.
Yeah.
Very powerful statement.
Yeah.
So,
How do you resolve things like that, though? What's the fix for it?
It's a problem. So
Is it part of the cycle of development as a country?
I think the first thing you do, and I'm hoping, because the way I'm seeing Asiwaju moving, I suspect, and maybe I'm wrong or maybe I'm right, but this is just a personal opinion, that he wants to weaken Abuja. Right?
So what does weakening Abuja do? Because at the end of the day...
I will explain what weakening Abuja does.
Okay.
Because we have this mad system where 36 commissioners of finance, we sit down in their house all month, and then one Wednesday, or what day is FAC again? One
They go to
Monday,
FAC.
they'll go to
They'll fly to
Abuja,
Abuja.
they will sign paper, they will collect money. Zero accountability
But
of
how
money
does
that you're
that change?
collecting. So the point now is, that Abuja money that is there makes you intrinsically lazy. Incentives are so important to drive human behavior. Right? When you're in Borno, and Borno may be on fire, and half of your state is run by Boko Haram, and you cannot make any single money. But at the end of the month, money will still enter your account. What is the point?
But
There are governors in this country that spend more time in Abuja than they spend in their own states.
Yeah, but the current system still encourages that.
So let me
regardless.
finish. So what I talk about weakening Abuja is, let's reduce to a very bare minimum this dependency on these federal revenues.
But what we are seeing is an increase in that now.
But again, that Abuja thing still there. So yes, Lagos is getting more. The point is, when you see, say, your neighbor, right? If Lagos gets his act together, is growing very fast. Soon, that your Lagos guy will start telling you, don't come here, you go vex too, right? If you're a governor, right, you figure out, how do I make my own people productive? Because the beauty of this country is that I think almost every state is endowed with the value that it can generate for our country.
Which is my point,
right?
Sam.
So the reason why that value is not mined is this incentive structure that this federal structure has created for us. We are living in a federal system that is not really federal. It's a very weird unitary system where everybody goes to Abuja, but you cannot organize your state that you're supposed to be I won't even call it governor, because it's more powerful than governor. These guys are like dukes, right? Like medieval dukes, right? You're a duke, right? And you're not deriving value from your people. And the beauty about deriving value from your people is that your people that you're deriving value from become a stakeholder
in your conversation.
And that's one of the reasons I love Aliko. Because Aliko is a stakeholder in the Nigerian project. He cannot allow Nigeria flame, because he will flame with it. Right? A lot of people, a lot of governors, a lot of political leaders that we have, this country can rot for all they care. They don't give a damn.
So,
because they are not invested in the Nigerian project. And frankly, us as business people, we don't even want to do anything with it. If I have to go to my governor in Edo State to get access to enabling environment to be able to build a factory, and then he taxes me, and I pay taxes to him, and that is how he's able to deliver goods and services to the people. Before he does anything stupid, he will call me. He will.
Because he knows that that's where his money.
Yeah,
comes
but
Because
now
that's
he
where his
won't.
money is coming
He
from.
won't because it gets from Abuja, which is my point. So my point is that yes, even at that, yes, we see what Asiwaju is doing, but the fact that they're even getting more FAC allocation now with this whole NNPC thing that they've done, they're even going to get more revenue. They're still going to be heavily dependent on Abuja.
So this is so
now,
the fact that the problem is that the money is still coming to FAC.
Yeah.
So that is that
So the money is
wiring
still
that
going
you
to come
need
to
to
FAC. So how do you?
It's constitutional review.
Exactly.
It's constitutional
so
review.
You can't decouple because until you have states control their own resources.
I mean,
To allow states control their
have
resources.
to control their own resources.
And let the guy in Abuja just
So
go
that is the
to
only
Washington.
so long as
and
we're all
managing
going
a
to
small
Abuja,
army.
and then but some other guys will tell you that once you start to see states control
they won't agree.
allocation,
They won't agree.
then a state can say, you know what happened in Nigeria? Why do you have to be Nigeria?
No, but there are, so for example, the UAE is a classic example. These are autonomous emirates that are working under a federal structure.
But their political structures are different.
No, again. So
They are also homogeneous.
So we need to
Agitations reduce.
we need to know that we need to be able to have defense. I mean, this new world has told us that you need to. So if we are all contributing into a central defense pool that ensures that we are able to repel attacks, we can have our internal fights, but at least let no external aggression come in. I think we are stronger for it, right? I think we are stronger for it. But let's harness the uniqueness of what makes us great as a country, right? Let's harness the entrepreneurial spirit in Lagos. Let's harness the low-cost access to labor in the middle belt and in the north. Let's harness the availability of large agricultural.
The current governors are not thinking like that.
That's the problem, right?
They're not thinking like that.
I think the
Like you
current
said, it doesn't
structure
give them
allows
votes.
them
But
high.
thinking like that doesn't give them votes.
Yeah, but if they're not, again, they have to choose vote and money. Because
but
eventually, when the money not there, you need money to get votes. When the money not there, you find a way. Like, you see, when there's a reason why Singapore doesn't have anything, no.
Yeah. That thing puzzles the bejesus out of
Dubai,
it.
people think Dubai had oil when they developed. They didn't have anything, no.
At the end of the day, you see, everything is all about incentives. And I think
agree.
Otoma captures it very well. So the incentive today for the political class does not allow them really think internally and say, you know what, let's look at internal resources and try and develop. Because naturally, that's how you would think. But the incentives don't go that way. So the incentive is, you know what, money is coming from the central, from the central. Just focus on the areas, the people that you need to give money to give you votes and to give you power to continue to entrench you. And then you think about what happens after you leave. Because when you're leaving, it's the same people that will tell you, waiting you see for waiting you do the ATM, waiting you carry come out.
But I think I think one of the things
So at the end of the
one of the
day-
things that have further established this structure we have in Nigeria is whoever started perpetuating the Nigerian story, you know, your life is tied to the dollar. Nigeria is very rich.
Whoever,
You
as if
know-
there's somebody that.
No,
that did
I
this.
don't know. It feels like there was a deliberate attempt to give.
That Shagari deceive all of us.
You get they were deliberate.
Go on.
They were deliberate.
He said he had money. Nigeria had enough money that he doesn't know what to do with it.
You know, there were seeds planted in the hearts of Nigerians, and it has been regurgitated for decades to the point where it is now the actual factual truth to a lot of Nigerians. The narrative is now, you can't shake it from the hearts of a lot of Nigerians. So it is impossible to wipe it away. That is what is entrenching this. Now, if Nigerians start to understand that, you know, this thing could be done a little bit different. You know, it could be done a slightly different way. We could go for a short-term pain, but if we hold this guy accountable. So, for instance, one of the biggest lies in Nigeria that has been sold is that your vote doesn't count. It's a massive lie. If it is so true, if it is so true, why is it that they go to great extents to do all the con eating, you know, vote buying, you know, spreading money? If it is so true, Why do they do ballot box snatching? Why do they do all those?
I think
anybody
maybe
ever thought about it?
aren't you misunderstanding what they mean by your vote doesn't count?
Okay, what do they mean?
So their point is that you can go out, they can cut your vote, you can go out to vote, but at the end of the day, your vote is not what delivers whoever is eventually elected, because they have a way of,
So the point is, like, in order for you to
that's what I
rig,
mean by
in
your
order
vote
for you
doesn't
to
count.
rig, you cannot rig on 0 votes.
Exactly.
You can't.
So
It's not
they
possible.
do need turnout,
So
but they
you
don't
need
need to
to,
turn out.
they need the turnout, right? It's from the turnout that you can rig it.
That you can rig.
You cannot rig from 0
So
votes.
my point is, yes, you cannot rig from 0 votes, but
Yeah.
you need numbers to rig. Abi?
Of course, yeah.
So I'm saying that it means that it is not a foregone conclusion. So
It
if
isn't.
the people turn out, and we've seen it happen before,
Yeah.
we saw it happen with the.
I mean, to your point is that the more turnout you actually have, massive
harder
turnout
it
makes
is
it
to
harder
rig.
to rig.
I agree.
That's
I
the
agree.
point.
So
I agree.
what you have
So that voter
perpetrated,
apathy is
Yeah.
a big problem.
it started
Yeah,
from the narrative of your vote doesn't count.
yeah.
So now a lot of
Because
Nigerians.
the higher the turnout, the higher the quantum of rigging needed to swing it the other way.
Exactly.
How many-
It makes it a lot more difficult.
How many
to
people
rig.
you want to shoot? How many people you want to kill? Even if you're going to come and start, how do you want to do it? But the general thought is that if we all believe that our vote doesn't count, then some people will not even come out in the first place. You won't be able to defend your vote. So it continues to entrench that narrative. And then the people that benefit from it,
They'll tell you it doesn't count, so don't come and vote.
All right, guys, let's move on. More macro stories. We're almost on 2 hours already.
wow. That's so
Ghana inflation numbers.
It bless
I want us to
us.
get to equities later, because I know Otumba has some fiery response very soon. Commentary on what's happening in the equities market.
don't fire
But let's get
anything.
to Ghana. Sam, Ghana's inflation numbers 3.3%. It's something.
But the price is not back to 2017
It's
prices.
becoming very. Are you sure? Of course not. Are you sure? Guys, did you see what Sam just did now? Did you see what Sam just did now? For all you opposition. Anyways, 3.3%. Where's Ghana heading to?
3.3%.
Should we be, are we suspecting their bureau statistics now or something?
No. It's terms of trade.
3.3%.
That's what happens when you have very strong
What sort of
positive terms of trade.
deceleration is this?
So again,
Or disinflation
let's be clear. Inflation going
3.3%.
down just means the price did
Rate
not
of
rise.
change.
The price rising
So prices
relatively
now in
to
Ghana is essentially flat. That's what you're saying.
but the major rise may not cause
Ghanaians
problems.
watching Drinks and Mics, tell us what's your experience? Are prices really flat in Ghana? We'd like to know.
No, wait.
For
Right
prices
now,
to be
yeah.
flat
Let's-
in aggregate, it means that a
100%.
lot of prices are declining. Actually.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
is?
So let's
wait,
know what's going on.
don't
Is the
listen
bag
to
of
what you're
rice
saying.
way lower than it is because Tuji wants us to
No.
spend more on bag. Tuji and Sam wants to spend more on bag of rice.
The price compared to last month. Because what he's trying to say that is causing problem.
But yeah, inflation.
No, so if you want to compare year on year, is you want to compare this year, the rise this time this year with the rise that was happening that time last year compared to the previous time. So don't think about it from it don't move from it's because they said 3%. That means it moved from 100 naira to 103 naira. No, be so they do. It's different. Is the different base period. So Ghana has gotten to a point where the increase is now. In fact, the prices in Ghana are super high.
Really?
Yes.
Even at 3.3 inflation.
Have you?
Ghana is expensive.
I don't know.
Because the currency has strengthened a lot.
Ghana is super
And the currency has
expensive.
strengthened because
Shouldn't that make things cheaper for Ghanaians then with the stronger currency?
How?
That's
With
why
the stronger
inflation.
Ghanaian
That's why
currency.
inflation has come down. It's cheaper for Ghanaians.
Because if the currency is super
Yes.
expensive, that means even the
currency has
normal
rallied,
everyday thing.
and
Yeah,
the reason
so
why the
things
currency
are
has rallied is that
expensive
gold is
now.
gold price. Their major export is gold. So gold has literally
I'm
done a
surprised you guys,
bonkers.
none of you guys said you're going to gold. And I know this don't hear. So I know it's probably like,
He's
you
the
know,
gold junkie.
yeah,
now.
buying up a lot of
He will
gold
hold gold till he dies. It's probably the right call.
I don't Adam, please don't die.
No, later when he's older, that guy will never sell gold.
Literally, don't die. Please, I beg you.
Arnold has been sweet gold for the last 2 years.
It's been
just
the right call.
incredible.
No, it's been the right call.
Gold, wow.
It's been the right call.
Anyway, during the week as well, we saw interesting news of a stock on the exchange that said that they don't know who owns 40%.
Oh yeah. Oh.
And I'm saying this because we've been seeing a lot of rally. Results are out, seeing a lot of rally. The market is on fire. And then we've seen SEC come up with this company. What's it, this agro company? Z6 or whatever, that basically suspended its trading. You've seen
it not SEC that gave them approval to list?
I don't know. They listed by introduction, which Atumba doesn't really like, which is not the subject for today's discussion. But of course, Zix is listed, suspended their trade. You've seen
Ella
Lakes didn't succeed, despite all the rally that we've seen, didn't succeed with their capital raise. Tunji even knows somebody who was trying to buy, but you know.
Yeah, my guy.
Buy.
Yeah, he bought.
Sorry,
he put his bid in, and I hope you have all gotten your money back.
Yeah, so they're supposed
should
to
have by now.
No, but it comes with
people
small
back their
interest
money.
now. So
Yeah.
And then now, what's the name of that company again? That the company that just said that they
Don't know.
Dicon Salt.
Dicon. Dicon has a history. My God. Anyway,
So that just tells you that their company.
so what's going on?
No.
But what's going on exactly in the market? Like, how do you have a shareholder that owns 40% of your equities and you don't know who they are?
That's what I'm saying. That just tells you that there is no management in the company.
Apart from management,
It's
so
not
what
management.
Registrars?
It's not just management. Yeah.
Did you have registrars?
Who's
Did
the
you have, like-
registrar?
Yeah,
Who's-
registrars.
registrars, yeah.
First now. If I own a company and you own 40%, right? I should be talking to you once a quarter,
Management is terrible. That's
or
for sure.
talking to you twice a year.
At least you shouldn't be calling. You shouldn't be calling for AGM.
Yeah, you're a board member.
Yeah, so
you
you
have
have
board
to-
seats.
Even if you don't want bots, you should be calling for AGM.
You have board
Yes,
seats.
at least you would have
You're
some-
running the show.
So for a company to say, I don't lose.
You know, when I saw that thing, I thought
They do not say that.
no. When I saw that thing, I had to read it twice, right? Because it's like I've never seen anything like that in my life.
It is incredible.
Yeah.
Not 5% though.
40%.
40%.
I don't lose my
You don't
shareholder.
know. But CAC should have that information because it was a corporate entity that bought the shares. So unless that shares,
I don't know.
So
It doesn't really
we now
affect.
have to do
Doesn't really affect
investigation
CAC.
to go and find who
No,
it is. When
CAC
the
we need
company-
to know, or maybe it's a proxy holder because it could well be that somebody used a company.
What I want to know is who is the registrar of that. There's no way the registrar of the company should not know who that shareholder is. That's
Because
why you have
every
registrars.
CSS account
then
has
what
a,
does
has
CSS
a UBO.
It's
Yeah,
linked to a
UBO.
name.
So UBO, yeah.
It's
So
linked to a name. I saw a tweet somewhere by one of our
Even the news
one of our regular I wish it was in Nigeria, but I'd love to have Charles Beef here of
Okay.
in NRI. Beef, I saw Beef's tweet and he said that it was a militant that owned stock. Let me try and look for that
know when
tweet.
the people enter the stock?
Beef is relentless. Let me look for it.
Well,
I'm going to put out this tweet. I'll put out this tweet on the screen so that you can see it. Beef says, Dicon Salt has notified the exchange and the investing public that it has been unable to establish contact with its majority shareholder, Amis Limited, which holds 64 million shares representing 40% of issued equity. In our last green ticker space, we mentioned we were discussing the inherent challenges of allowing ex-militants and people of questionable character with stakes in our companies and actually called out the NGX that we wanted more disclosure on their new shareholder who took a 5% stake. Oh, there's a new shareholder that took a 5% stake of NGX. Like that's what it's referring to.
Yeah, so I know that.
And it says the chicken is coming home to roost.
No, but that's not a, that's not
Billions one.
no, the new shareholder. NGX has different shareholders. They have
Yeah, but Beef is saying he doesn't know who they are.
You can call me. You can call me. I can tell him.
But if you have a 5%,
No, he doesn't need to call you now.
Do I
It should be
call you?
There should be a disclosure.
Yeah,
Disclosure. Because I remember when we
Yeah,
took the
so-
picture,
but-
we were made to disclose.
So
the shell that was
it's not me
disclosed.
asking who is the person behind.
Oh, okay.
That's CAC. Now go and do your search.
Yeah,
Charles
go and
B,
do your
go and do your
search. Yeah,
search.
you go and
Just-
do
No,
your
so what's
search.
disclosed?
Do your search.
Yeah, but this 40% to call.
That one, I don't know how it happened.
Like, go and do your search. They say, but before they say, I'm Ames Limited. That's because Ames Limited, I beg your pardon, not Amis.
Ames.
I mean,
Limited.
we can also,
Even not to be found.
there was a transaction with Dicon many years ago. So
2 billion.
is that
2 billion naira or dollars?
2 billion naira?
And they actually
No,
put
but
out
this
a
was
notice.
this was
ago.
a very long time ago.
So it's a
2
lot of
billion
money.
was significant money at that time.
Yeah.
so? Is this
So Dicon said it has exhausted several efforts to reach its majority shareholder without success. Wow.
majority shareholder? Not even.
But why did the majority shareholder buy
That the
the
company is
shares?
using this medium to request that Ames Limited should contact Dicon immediately via its physical office at Kirikiri like that. I mean, Kirikiri, no
That
pun
company
intended.
has no management
No
team.
pun intended. Kirikiri phase 2 at Papa Lagos. Wow.
It is a joke. I mean, these are some of the
This is a company calling out. Like, what else?
These are some of
What
the
else
things
should they do?
these are
They've
some-
tried. They've
No, no, no.
Those are some of the things you fight
These are
about.
some of the things we talked about last week, right? You can't also start having listing by introduction. These are some of the
But
results.
was this a listing by
No,
introduction?
I'm not saying.
No, you-
You want to have companies of such quality on the stock
But we need to
exchange.
take out his glasses, man. This is serious matter.
No, it's actually embarrassing.
It's embarrassing.
It's embarrassing, yeah.
Right?
Please,
So,
if you guys, if you guys know Ames, please let us.
see
Please, you can on the comment section. Let us know who they
If
are.
you're as old as I am, there's something that used to happen back in the days. There's a TV station, I don't know if they still exist, Channel 7 and Channel 10. If you lived in Lagos and the child was missing, they'll take the child to the TV station.
yeah, remember that?
Yeah.
This is not funny, please. Please
I'm
stop
sorry.
that stuff.
I'm sorry, but when he was reading it,
No, it's yeah.
But it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for all parties involved.
Yeah, so we need to sanitize
Anyway,
this,
guys,
this,
market so far, NGX record gains.
No,
Fundamentals. Are we in a
a
bull trap or is this?
we had a blowout February.
Is this? Because I mean, I've seen a lot of commentary around. A lot of stocks are undervalued. We know they've been undervalued for a bit. A lot of them now are not reflecting the values that we always thought they had all along.
Not yet. They're just pre-COVID.
Exactly. Some even pre-COVID. I mean, if you had dollarized them, probably still not even there. Some of them are still trading at 4x multiples. But I mean, this is not the US market. This is the Nigerian market. Any reasons to
Now
be
the same cash flow with the buy.
any
This
difference?
is not the
But
US
I know
market.
now, but we know they run 30 we know they run 20x multiples.
If we can guarantee macro
25x
stability, we'll go run
multiple.
20x.
At least
You
for
can
now, we're
You
not.
can run it. Nestle ran it for a long time before
yeah,
come.
and then it happened.
Yeah.
So, and of course, the kind of liquidity that you're seeing, the kind of liquidity that happens in these markets that sustain those sort of multiples, we don't get those liquidity
But it's
here.
coming back. The market is really 40 million a day these days.
I know now, but you still have stocks where 80%, 9% ownership is concentrated on the few shareholders. Yeah. So, Dilly, I mean, are you worried about the way the trajectory of the market right now? Are you confident that?
I've always said that. I
you-
said for this year, I feel like the market is going to do as high as 70%. That's my
Amen,
position.
amen.
So I
To do IPO for
I'm telling you.
So think of Dangote refinery that's coming, and there's a lot of people have been already messaging. I say, oh boy, what do I need to do to prepare for? Even people that are offshore. So what do I need to do to prepare for Dangote refinery? And if Dangote is listening, the one I'm looking forward to is Dangote fertilizer. That is the IPO that I want.
Really?
Yeah.
Why
Is he
not
listing
fertilizer?
that?
I hope he does.
I thought that was what he wanted to list in.
So fertilizer.
For me, that's the more
That's the
interesting.
more
Yeah.
interesting story.
Why you guys want
So there's a global fertilizer story right now that is so under the radar in terms of the need for fertilizer in Europe, the need for fertilizer, in fact, across the world. And it does seem that Africa seems to be
So
able to sell it at a cheaper price
He
than the rest of the
he
world.
has an input cost that allows him to be at the bottom end of the
Exactly.
global cost curve.
Yes.
Unlike commodity refinery where your input is internationally driven and your output is internationally driven, so your margin is naturally capped.
The
So
EU has
margin in
tried
the
to
fer-
attack him a few times.
The margin in the fertilizer business will be
Yeah.
a lot healthier than it is in the
Yeah.
refinery business.
Yeah, they've tried to attack him. They've tried to put tariffs on, fertilizer that is just sell it to us like that. No value add. And my guy is saying, no, I can finish the whole work here and send it to you as packaged
I
fertilizer.
even worry that he's also going to the detergent space.
Why should you worry? That's positive.
No.
That's
It's not
derivatives.
positive. I'm just saying that if I was holder of, let me not spoil it, but if I was holding PZ Cousins today,
No, but PZ Cousins are not making the primary, I think it's alkali benzoate or whatever it is that goes into this thing. They're supplying. So rather than importing those chemicals, you just supply
you can buy from them. Yeah, but I'm saying,
Yeah.
but I'm saying that in terms of obviously supply,
Yeah.
what Aliko is looking to build in that detergent space is that he's going to come in so much volume that he's potentially going to crash the price. I mean, he's not the kind of guy who likes to destroy value, like destroy price. But I'm just saying that there's a lot of supply. So except of course he's able to export. I don't think that the local market is able to absorb the quantum of detergent.
There's a West African market to absorb
Yeah.
also.
So this is one of the reasons why during the heat of the refinery argument, I was strongly of the opinion that by hook or by crook, that refinery must succeed.
Yeah.
Right? You could argue he made some mistakes around ensuring offtake and that's secondary. What we do have is an industrial scale refinery project.
Industrial complex,
right?
actually.
And that's basically, there's a lot of derivative industry
industries
that comes from that refinery. That means that you'll be able to basically reduce the pressure on your balance of trade by substituting a lot of those products. And those are inputs into other adjacent industries.
Yeah.
So it was, and there's no industrial economy in the world that doesn't have a active refinery project.
We need more of those conversations, really. We need more of those
So
conversations.
for me, it was very important that your question on bubble in the market, there are increasingly bubble-like behavior in some stocks, especially the low-capped ones
Meme stocks.
and the meme stocks. I feel like because crypto has casted,
So people are just
there are a
looking
lot
for
of
the next-
people that are looking for the next thing.
there to
Right,
pop up.
there's very minimal investment, financial education, which I think the regulatory agencies have to get involved so that people really understand how these things work. Because increasingly, some of the narratives that I hear that you buy a stock and the thing go up 20-30% in a month, right? Frankly, if you have that conversation with me, you can't even be a client in my fund, right? Because you need to really understand the risk that it takes. However, having said that, the large cap companies, which have really done very well, the MTNs, the Seplats, the Zenith banks, have extremely compelling value stories. And to your point around that the US market trades at 20 something, the reason is very simple. The value of an equity is the present value of its future cash flow discounted for the riskiness of that cash. When you have macro regimes that are unstable, the riskiness premium goes up, right? So which is why naturally what happens is that duration shortens. So anything outside 2 years, 3 years, the market just don't give a shit because they can't predict what that value of that Naira is going to be in 2-3 years' time. Or if you then have a world where real interest rates are compressing, right, it means that the value of those future cash flows are going up. So naturally, in a macro stable world that is credible, right, you can then know that that dollar that is coming out of this business in 5 years' time is worth something that you can value, right? So I think that's what has changed in Nigeria. How we see the riskiness of cash flows has changed. And is this repricing of the riskiness of cash flow? So when in the past you're like, oh, GT Bank do 30%, you do 30% ROE. When you adjust it in real terms, you're like, well, that ROE might come, but when that ROE might come, that dollar might be at X. But now that 30% ROE is real.
It's real, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's real
So, and this is why I agree. I don't like putting price targets on markets because like it's point estimates, but I agree that we could be very surprised. For example, like we had a crazy February. I think the fund was up 23% for the month, right? And I was very worried when I was writing my commentary. I was trying to be measured, right? Saying that this is not your usual, like you need to know that you expect a drawdown. I'm surprised market don't go up again.
Yeah, it's still up. Yeah, it's just incredible.
Yeah. But
It's
again,
incredible.
even though it's gone up, these things are still cheap. I mean, Seplat is probably still one of the cheapest EMP companies in the world. MTN, the numbers were out of this world.
Anyway, I mean, we kind of predicted that.
I mean, even the conversation
months
we had
ago.
last week, where when you were talking about investors are even thinking about cutting the risk premium by almost 400 basis points.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
So that means there's even more upside to come.
There's upside to come.
All right, guys. We've done basically 2 hours. We're gonna go to buy, sell, or hold. Buy, sell, or hold is gonna be strictly for our subscribers. So if you want to know what we're talking about, buy, sell, or hold, you got to be a subscriber. But in the meanwhile, please, if you heard what Sam said, we love AI, the good of AI, but we're seeing a lot of fake Ugo Dre's out there.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure there's gonna be
That
fake
guy was
sounds.
posher- it was posher than
2G.
Yeah, very posh.
Whoever did that thing is not
the English
at all.
There's a second one I sent to you.
Oh, there's another one.
Yeah, there's another one.
Please. Anything that is not on my personal handle verified or Nairametrics handle verified,
Please report.
is fake.
Help us
Anything
report.
me is verified.
Yeah,
Please.
celebrity.
Please
And
report.
at the same time,
Yes.
any of these guys, because I'm very sure very soon they're going to clone Sam or Tuba or Tunji. If it's not on their handles, it is fake. We don't promote anyone or any product. We're not influencers here. Serious. We're okay the way we are. We know influencer money is plenty, but we are satisfied with what we
we're
have.
satisfied.
We don't influence
You know,
anyone.
daily
No
2K.
politician.
Yeah.
No business. Nothing at all. Please just avoid those things. If you're not sure, reach out to us directly. Okay.
And you have many means to do it. Please reach out.
Very, a lot of means to do that. Please do not subscribe. None of us here are going to tell you to buy any stock.
Yeah.
Do a video and say buy this stock. We're not going to do it. I have my own FTM. You know, if you want to be an FTM subscriber, you know where to go to. But please, don't believe anything you see out there. This has been Drinks and
And by
Mics.
the way, I just wanted to say big shout out to viewers of Drinks and Mics across the world. Arnold was in Cape Town. He was talking about, people he met there. Ugo Dre was in UK. I was in Cape Town too recently.
Turkey. I was in Turkey.
Turkey. So I just want to say big shout out. You guys are awesome. It's the amazing way to which you show up and, basically let us know that you watch. And it's the quality of you guys. It's amazing. It's always overwhelming.
Yeah, it's just
you're
incredible.
in another part of the world. I mean, you think it's just, in Lagos, you understand it, right? In Abuja, you get it. But when you are far away in Cape Town and you see somebody that
it
says,
speaks to the I mean, I don't want to blow the horn, but it speaks to the gap that Dele spoke about around the quality of the discourse. And I'm super excited about the diaspora engagement that Drink and Mike is driving.
You guys don't know what it means for this country. I mean, because there's just so much misinformation and information gap.
It's crazy how people tell me that on Friday night after closing, what they settle into a drink of, obviously, in Nigeria, we always will be in one club or somewhere. When you're abroad or in Canada where there's no,
just
you are indoors.
this
This is what people do on.
And we do it as well, by the way. Because when we're home,
too, yeah.
we just turn on the TV. We're watching ourselves.
Yeah,
as funny as it can be, and we're just doing it.
I don't miss any episode.
Yeah, and we just watch and then we just
I
analyze
have a
it.
friend who
So
he said Saturday lunch is Drinks and Mics. So if he's eating, he's watching Drinks and Mics.
I mean, it'd be
Which
nice
is-
to tell
which
us.
is great.
What I think what we've been trying to do is do our own collage. If you're watching Drinks and Mics, take a picture, share with us. We will make that available, and then we can always put it on as part of the collage we have on our Drinks and Mics, viewers. By the way, Nairametrics Money Fair is coming up in 2 weeks. We're going to be there live. We're going to be here. So we're going to have a live episode. Really glad to have these guys there. To have people on that platform. Akuba might not be around, by the way, but Sam is going to be there. Tunji is going to be there. And of course,
When is
Arnold
it
is going to be
set,
as well on this 17th and 18th. But the 18th, we're basically going to be closing that whole event with that live platform. The Landmark Event Center in VI. So if you always want to meet the gang, you meet us there as well. So on that note, thanks for being a part of Drinks and Mics. We're going straight to buy, sell, or hold, where we're going to talk about Iran, we're going to talk about stocks and a few other things on the buy, sell, or hold. Until we do this again next time, do have a profitable week ahead. Bye.